What are your best, "this customer is totally trying to screw us over" stories? Story 1. I used to work at a used video game/record store, and we got our fair share of nut jobs. The butt hat to take the cake, though, was about 2 months ago. A woman came in to trade a few boxes of DVDs, CDs, and the like. My manager and I spent about half of an hour looking at the conditions of the discs, and every single one looked like it had been ice skated on. There were even a few cases with dead insects in them. Utterly disgusting. We told her that we had to reject all of her trade because of the poor condition. She flips crap. She starts screaming that we're racist and that she's going to bring her boys down to jump us. Then, out of nowhere, she sprints out of the store, leaving all of her crap. 2 hours later, she comes back in, says nothing, and just starts loitering around the cash register. Out of nowhere, she begins screaming that my manager harassed her in a store full of customers. My manager is gay. This is why you should avoid working at stores that buy stuff from people. GameStop, pawn shops, black market organ sellers. It just isn't worth it. Someone isn't going to be happy with you, and they are going to make life hell. Story 2. I work at Olive Garden, and we have that oh-so-famous soup and salad deal. Well, I had a party of 4 come in, all about 16 or 17, all order the soup and salad. Considering they are my only table, I fairly quickly bring out drinks and their soup and salad. They all thank me and start eating. Before I walk away, they ask if they can see my manager. I assume they want to put in a good word. My manager comes over. Let me explain him real quickly. He's from some Pacific Island country and has a very hard time understanding people when they talk too quickly, let alone how the company is run and how to even use the computers to put in orders. No, I don't know how he got this job. Well, anyway, my manager comes over and asks the table what he can do for them. Very little, obviously. They start complaining that I'm an awful server and have yet to bring out any of their food. According to them, they never got anything, drinks or food. Now, it's quite obvious that they got everything they ordered. They demand that everything get taken off the bill. Now, my manager isn't obviously going to argue with them because he won't understand what he's arguing about, so he just gives them all free food, free dessert, and a $25 gift card. And I get written up for customer complaints. But it doesn't end there. They stiff me, yes. But one of the 17 or so S-bags has the audacity to leave me her phone number with her name. I formulate my plan. I call her well after my shift with them, 2 days, actually. After a few rings, it goes to voicemail once, with the typical, "Hello, you've reached the Sprint voicemail box of..." Perfect. She calls back. I start, "Hello, I'm calling in regards to your most recent bill with Sprint." She instantly calls for her mother. Her mother picks up. "Hello, sorry to call under such harsh pretenses, but your daughter recently came in a Olive Garden I work at, nearly gets me fired, and then stiffs me." I go on to tell my story. She actually takes my side and makes sure everything is taken care of. The next day at work, I receive a letter with $50 and a handwritten note saying how her daughter will be selling her new car, never seeing the light of day, blah, blah, blah. Apparently, she does this to a lot of services and a lot of different restaurants, according to her mother, who recently found out. Yeah, I'm sorry. As much as I am for people to take advantage of big companies and chains in whatever ways they can, while following the law and stuff, don't do crap that will get innocent workers screwed over. And to do something that got this worker in trouble and then not give any tip, that's just friggin' gross. Story 3. Used to work at a bookstore, and for a while I was the guy who covered breaks for the people in the music and movies area. One day, a woman in her latest 20s, clearly someone who worked out, fake tans, fake nails, you know the type, comes to the store with an open DVD and asks the guy at the front desk to do a return. He asks why she wants to return it. She says she didn't like it. He then explains that we don't accept returns on open DVDs, shows her the sign saying as much, and says if it isn't defective, there isn't anything he can do. She gets angry and decides to try to come upstairs to try getting the refund from me. The front desk guy calls me, lets me know what's going on. I see her get off the escalator and watch her break the case for the DVD, which she had bought. She approaches and I calmly explain to her why we can't accept a refund because she simply didn't like the DVD. She tells me she wants to return it because it's broken. So I tell her I witnessed her break it on her walk over to me. She goes ape crap at me and demands to see my supervisor. At this point, the person who was on break returns and is sort of my supervisor. So I told her the situation and let her try to explain the exact same thing. The woman is now furious and demands to speak to a manager. Manager walks over, we explain the situation to him, and expects him to say, "I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do." Instead, the pansy manager took one look at the woman and said, "Well, just this once, let's make an exception." Story 4. I used to work for a furniture company in the mid-90s. One day, we got a memo that there was a former coworker who was using stolen cards to do in-store pickups or deliveries to fake addresses, like an apartment, but they would pick up the furniture in the apartment lobby claiming the elevator was broken or something. The FBI was getting involved because it was in the amounts of thousands of dollars across state lines. A few days later, I got a call, a big order. The kind of order that would blow over quota and give me a bonus. "Can you deliver this to New Jersey?" "Sure." I took down the credit card info. Then I asked for a callback number so I could relate the shipping info. They hesitated. I said, "MasterCard requires this." Let me give you a Visa then." Okay. I told that info and then said, "Oh, I forgot. Visa does that too." "I'll call you back," they said. So I called the home office and told them I think it was those guys. The MO checked out, and they said if they call back, try and get an Amex card, and then don't ask for a callback number. Just set up a delivery. And hours later, they called back. Got my assistant, and I told her to just take the order. When it was completed, she had an Amex card order for some ungodly amount. I called the home office, and they arranged a sting with the FBI. Later, the drivers told me what had happened. They had to make a rendezvous point where they loaded a bunch of armed agents into the truck. Then, once the woman signed the bill of lading, the FBI goon squad jumped from the truck and arrested her and 4 accomplices without much resistance. Later, MasterCard, Visa, and Amex gave me reward checks for recovering stolen cards. Sweet! Wow, I expected a lot of things from this thread, but I was not ready for the FBI sting operation. I have to imagine that is the most exciting thing to happen working for a furniture store, and I say this as someone who worked in one. I worked in TVs, though, and had 1 or 2 shady customers coming in, but nothing that big. Also just ridiculously rich people getting 75-inch TVs for their bedroom, which is just, who wants that? Story 5. I used to work for The Source, Radio Shack in the US, in a very low-traffic area, so we won't get any people who come in just to browse like at the malls. People come in with an idea of what they wanted, and it was up to me to get it for them. So I'm alone, my manager is on lunch break, and this old, frail lady walks in. I ask if I can help her, and she gives me a scoff and rolls her eyes. I need a cell phone. I help her out as much as I can. I tell her that pay-as-you-go are the cheapest rates and you have no contracts to bind you. She seems pleased, but decides to purchase a Rogers phone on a 2-year contract. Whatever, more commission for me. 3 weeks later, she comes in unhappy and asks to return the phone. I explain to her that it would cost around $400 to cancel the plan she has created and that she's too late for a refund, 15 days maximum. She gets peed and storms out. 2 months later, she comes in, attitude up the wazoo, telling me that I sold her a busted phone and she wants all of her money back. I was alone again, so I asked her to give me her phone so I could look at it. I present my hand and she reaches over to hand it to me. At the last second, she moves her hand a bit to the side and drops the phone on the tips of my fingers where it then falls to the floor. She goes ape crap. "You broke my phone. I want my money back and I want a new phone, blah, blah, blah." I try to explain to her that her Nokia 3100-esque phone will not break from a simple fall. You would need to throw the phone into the fires of Mount Doom to destroy it. She doesn't agree and starts yapping. I tell her that even if her phone was an expensive smartphone like my BlackBerry, it would take the fall and still work. So drop it, she says. I ask if I drop my phone from the same height and it still works, if she will leave, and she agrees. Now, I'm not going to drop my brand new BlackBerry I purchased just weeks before to some dumb old coot that is sour because she didn't listen to my first advice. I think quickly on my feet and remember the stash of fake plastic phones right under the counter. I grab one that looks just like my phone and kamehameha that crap right into the floor where it shatters in 100 pieces. We both stare at the pieces for a second and she is astonished. She fumbles with her things and takes her phone and never comes back. The end of that story was far more buck wild than I was really prepared for, but I love it. Also, as someone who used to sell phone plans at Walmart, I would rather jump through a plate glass window than sell an elderly person a phone. Look, I love the elderly in most things, but some of them are just so impossible to work with when it comes to even non-smartphones. If you sell them a contract, you will see them again, and again, and again. Story 6. One of my friends was a purser on a cruise ship, and the lengths people would go to get a free room upgrade were astonishing. The best story was a complaint from the passengers about a water leak in their room that had ruined some of their belongings. They wanted an upgrade to first class and announced they would be suing for the full replacement cost of all their suitcases and the stuff that was in them, cameras, laptop, etc. My friend dispatched maintenance right away. Water leaks on a ship are kind of a big deal, and they were at the room within a minute of receiving the complaint, and they found that the passengers had left ice all around the cabin. Because of how fast maintenance got there, it wasn't fully melted even in the Caribbean heat, and the window was left open. Purser told the passengers they would not be upgraded, would not be moved, they had to sleep in wet beds that night, and would be charged for the cleaning costs of the room when they reached port. Story 7. I worked at a local pizza shop. God, I want some pizza right now. That also did wings and subs. I had one guy order 24 wings and a foot-long sub. He comes up to the counter asking if he can change the wings from barbecue to hot. I change his stuff and take his order out. 30 minutes later, he comes up and tells me he would like to speak to the manager. I went to get my manager and she talked to him for about 10 minutes. She then brings me into the back room and asks me if I made half of the guy's sub cold and the other half toasted. She also asked if I cooked and only made half the wings hot and the other half plain. Turns out the guy licked all of the hot sauce off the wings and then took too long to eat his other half of the sub. He wanted his meal to be free because it was made at such poor quality. I've got plenty more if you want to hear them, but this one fits the OP's question the best. Story 8. Working at Sears and Electronics, a lady tries to return a video camera. I open the box to check the merchandise, breaking the seal. She is visibly not happy about that and asks what I'm doing. I continue to open it. It's a camera several years old in a new box. She pretends to be surprised. Man brings in a Casio keyboard box, proclaims he bought it from one of my associates. We do not sell keyboards. I explain that to him. He's angry and asks where he got it from then. I said, okay. I start to open it. He is very mad. I keep going. He runs out of the store. It's 3 pieces of plywood. Folks, if you're going to try to scam a store, you might want to be a little more clever about it. Like, I'm not trying to encourage you to do that, but I am going to encourage you to think things through for like 30 seconds. Even a 10-second pondering over the question, is what I'm doing smart? Please. Story 9. I worked in an insurance call center and a woman phoned up to say she had spilt bleach on her carpet and needed to replace it. She had the right cover. It was policy to send an inspector from a cleaning company around to make sure it was a total loss, and this woman happened to live very close to the nearest location. I told her someone would be around to inspect her carpet ASAP and that the depot was 5 minutes away, then started talking details about the accident. She was not happy with all this, and when I asked her when it happened, she got all blustered and eventually said, "It hasn't happened yet." Idiot. Story 10. Working fast food one summer, a customer comes up and looks at my name tag, then makes some kind of rhyme out of my name. It was bad sitcom-level acting. Anyway, he makes a small order, then asks for change for 20. I was already on alert because of his stupid name thing, so I was paying extra attention to what he was doing. He handed me the money for the order, but kept the 20. Watched me count off the change, then pulled back and asked for it in 5s. When I had the change in my hand, I held up my other hand for the 20. He said he had already given me the money. I just gave him a blank stare and said, no. He backtracked and was like, "I'll just go get change from the gas station across the street." Right. No joke. Crap like that is why I always announced the total and often individual bills that someone just handed me whenever I've worked at a register. They hand me a 20 and a 5, I say 20 and a 5 for $25. Looking them in the eye when I say the total. Seriously, folks, it's such an easy nothing of a habit to get into, but gives you just that little extra bit of covering your butt. Story 11. Working at Domino's. A woman calls in and wants her money back. She said the pizzas, 4, were burnt. Technically possible, but highly unlikely. Also, she ate the pizzas anyway. We thought she was joking, but she wasn't, and the manager refunded her order. She worked at that Domino's. It was just her night off. She was let go a couple of days later. Story 12. I worked at a restaurant a few years back. Another server used to keep all her tips in a guest check holder. One day she dropped the bill on her customer's table but accidentally gave them the holder with all her money in it. Instead of being honest, the couple who had dinner took her cash and left. And they had the balls to come back about 2 months later. The owner told them she knew what they did and asked them to leave. Never saw them again. Story 13. Back when I worked at Dunkin' Donuts, a customer used to come in and ask for a cup of water. He would then mix in lemon juice. We had packets of this because some people like lemon with tea, sugar, and salt to create some free ghetto lemonade. Technically, he was screwing us over, but I thought it was hilarious, so I didn't hassle him or anything. Hell yeah, Dunkin' doesn't pay you enough to deal with that. Their system is broke, they can fix it. In the long run, I doubt Dunkin' was too upset over the loss of 2 cents worth of lemon and sugar. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.